Started this evening. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll begin with a roll call.
Here.
Ken Bresnan.
Here.
Rob Keller.
Here.
Donna Kramer.
Here.
Carolyn Langenwalter. Here. Devin Metzger.
Here.
Sue Wilson.
All right. Go ahead with the good news from Mr. Saddle.
Okay, I'll talk kind of fast here tonight. I had a picture there of the Indian softball team. The girls softball team had a very good year. We're conference champs, and they did end up losing in sub-state to Ankeny Centennial, a game before the state tournament. Baseball is at home tonight. They won round one and are playing their second round playoff tonight. I put a little blurb in there about the food service department. That was actually the first day of free summer meals with over 400 served, and they've continued here throughout the summer. A couple of pictures of some of the work going on at the high school, boxes of acoustical tile that were ready to go into the high school auditorium, and the gym floors have been sanded down, and new bleachers have been installed, and painting has been done. A couple of notes, things going on with Helping Hand. They will have a free back to school and clothing giveaway July 28th from 3:30 to 8 p.m. And then they also have placed 6 community refrigerators throughout Warren County for people. There's a note there about the Iowa High School Music Theater Award Showcase, and the Indianola High School performance of the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee was a part of that, and that was broadcast on Iowa Public Television back on July 9th. Our marching band leadership group was recently at a leadership workshop in Ankeny High School. And then I put a note in there too, a note of thanks to Indianola Community Youth Foundation. Each year they give a number of free school supply boxes to students who need them. So that's what I've got for good news tonight.
Okay, sir. Any other board member reports this time? All right. We'll move on. Next is our delegation petitions communications. And first person we have on the list is Casey West of Grit Performance. Yeah, you can come right up to the
please do.
podium.
Yep.
Sure. Would you like me to speak into this?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a reminder for everybody, we have the 5-minute time
Yes,
limits and stuff.
Yep,
So,
I'll do my best to keep it under that. I'm sure I will. My name is Casey West. I'm a co-owner of Grit Performance 515. We are a locally owned, family-owned business here on the north side of town. We are a sports performance business that specializes in giving equal access to various student athletes around the Warren County and Des Moines metro area. We currently see over 500 athletes in different capacities throughout the week. The reason that we're here is we would like to propose that we are your provider of your strength and conditioning program here in Indianola. My husband's name is Preston. He currently has been doing it for the last 5 years with regards to the last 2 summers. The reason I'd like to present it as Grit Performance rather than him is we'd like to provide you a larger certified strength and conditioning staff versus just him. In the 5 years that he's been here, he's grown the strength and conditioning program from 50 athletes to over 400 plus athletes. He's also been able to expand from just football to various sports, both female and male athletes, which is a big deal. We would also like to provide that various different things, and I have an outline for you too that I'll pass out to you. But a team builder, customized programming, which accumulates data to be able to show athletes where they currently are and where they're going to. We'd also like to offer or propose a middle school program called Earn Your Bar. Currently, we don't provide that in the district, and we'd like to offer that as well so that student athletes have the ability to build their foundation safely and correctly, so by the time that they hit high school, they have the ability to be able to hit the ground running, and they're doing it in a safe capacity. Couple of other things that I wanted to outline was during the summer months, we'd like to run sports-specific camps, or sports performance camps that allow kids an opportunity to have a vested interest in their strength and conditioning part of their student athlete performance, whereas in the past they haven't had that and their numbers have been down. We'd also like to provide that opportunity to give back to the sports performance area. And again, I've outlined all of this in our outline or proposal that I'll hand to you. But basically, we're just here. We want to be a part of your program in your district. We don't plan on going anywhere. We've been established since 2017 and feel that we could provide more than what we're currently doing now with another coach on board, as well as internship opportunities that come through Preston and another coach that we would hire. So that's kind of where we're at. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to it? Okay. Any questions? Otherwise I can give you this information and I can outline this for you too. There's 7 or 8 copies there too. Yep. Yep. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Casey. Next we have Deb Shield Larson.
Good afternoon, I'm Deb Shield Larson, Indianola, Iowa. I'm here this evening to follow up on a communication I presented to you at the June school board meeting. We requested specific information related to the Indianola Indians and President Keller's work with the Native American Guardian Association, or NAGA. I wasn't contacted by anyone and we didn't see anything uploaded to the school website as we requested. The goal is so that everyone in the community can see this discussion and the information that's being shared. I hoped I was just looking in the wrong place. And after the July 4th holiday, I asked and there was nothing. We hope this sharing of information could be informal and part of the dialogue that your community is trying to have with you. But I had to ask again, and we do have information now. I hoped informal rather than a formal request. I checked with the Iowa Commission on Native American Affairs. They told me that President Keller requested minutes of 3 recent meetings. They confirmed that you didn't ask for a review. That's one thing that we asked about. I'm curious about what your goal is in terms of sharing meeting minutes of the commission with the board. So, that would be helpful to know why you didn't ask for a review and why you simply asked for minutes. I haven't checked with the Meskwaki Nation, and I'm wondering if you reached out to them.
I can answer that question. I have not.
Okay, thank you. The school board meeting tonight doesn't include any discussion, because we talked about even maybe having a work session. NAGA merited a work session with the school board. Right now, the position that we're in with talking about the Indianola Indians is that we're just talking at you through public communications, and what we really want to do is talk with you. So please, we need this process. This afternoon I talked with This afternoon I talked with Superintendent Thomas Parker at the Comanche, Iowa Community School District. And it's interesting, for those of you that think that because we're Indianola, it's easy to be Indians, think about what Comanche, Iowa and the school district did there. His suggestion for me and for all of us, I told him I was coming to the school board this evening, was to take a look at their school district website. Mascot information is the link. We've told you about this before. I've printed a copy of some of the information and I'll share it with Jonah tonight so that can be part of the meeting record. There's an interesting letter on this website that's signed by 3 school principals. School superintendent also has a printed statement. The school principals have interesting comments about, well, I'll just quickly read part of it. As a school board and administration, it is our job to act in the best interest of the students of Comanche. If we were to have a new school established in our community and a mascot was needed today, the Indian would not even make the list. So please think about that too. Last week, the Rosebud Sioux tribe brought the remains of 9 children ages 12 to 18 home to Nebraska. They passed through Iowa. This is just the start of what federal government is doing now, looking at boarding schools 350 of them in the United States, and unmarked graves of what is estimated to be thousands of children. I'm wondering if, I hope, that history and what currently is happening now is children are reunited with families after about 150 years of not knowing what happened to them when they were forcibly removed as part of assimilation. We're a school. Those were schools. These children have names. I could read them to you, but, does it make a difference when you pretend to be something and you know that there's real people behind what we're pretending to do, people that have suffered in history, and the fact that we say that we honor something that we're not? One of the things that we hear discussed sometimes when we talk about removing the Indianola Indians is what will it cost? We just spent a lot on a sign, on a football field, on a logo. And I thought about that. Stood outside and thought about, the sign that's on this building. If we remove the sacred eagle feather, since it was never ours to start with, then we're left with a block eye and a circle. And the circle to me represents closure, selfishness, community, maybe not compassion. I think we're better than that. And we want to talk to you about it. So thank you for your time this evening. Looking forward to hearing from you again.
Next on the list is Amy Shippers.
Start my time. All right, you ready? Hello, board members. I am Amy Shivers, the chapter chair of Warren County's Moms for Liberty. If you haven't heard of Moms for Liberty before, we are a nonpartisan, parent-led national organization that began with 2 moms in Florida and has grown to multiple chapters in 24 states. We continue to grow daily. Our mission for Moms for Liberty is to hold school boards and educators accountable for decisions affecting our children. Moms for Liberty works to unify, educate, and empower parents to defend their parental rights. As parents, it is our right to be involved in our children's education and environment in school setting. Any choices, values, or morals we have as families should not be questioned by educators, associates, or anyone else inside the school buildings. Our school district's focus should solely be on quality education and should supply no biased opinion, ideology, or indoctrination of any kind. We will be attentive to what is being displayed, promoted, presented, and enforced on our children. We will voice any concern we feel when we feel our parental authority and our children's rights are not being defended. Examples include any inappropriate, divisive, or political motivated situations. Moms for Liberty will always promote teaching with the principles of liberty in our homes and community. We will engage our communities and elected officials on key issues impacting our families. Lastly, please be assured that we will always come to you with kindness and respect, and we will work together to build trust between us. And we hope that you will give Moms for Liberty the same respect. Let us all remember what this incredible country was built upon. Here is an excerpt from the Declaration of Independence that really speaks to us all working together for the continued success and improvement of this nation through our youth. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I do have a couple extra little handouts if anybody wanted them. You could finish, that was just a little passage. As always, I think most of you are pretty familiar with me. Like I said, we come to you with respect. We're always welcome sitting down, having coffee, and having conversations. But this has been my push all year, was to feel like us as parents were really included on decisions being made.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
And we have Grant Wilson.
Hello. I'm Grant Wilson. I got 2 kids in the district. My mom was a teacher here for a long time. I'm here mainly because of the entertaining NAGA. None of this was really on my radar at all until then. But you scratch the surface on that group, and they come off a lot more as a high-pressure sales tactic group than any nonprofit I've ever encountered. So I'm here to talk about that, but mainly I don't really want to talk about them because I don't think they really deserve much airtime. But I would like to reiterate that I would like the board to at least explore alternative team name options and develop a timeline to maybe develop, produce, and market a long-term rollout of a new naming scheme. Like I said, it wasn't really something that I was on my radar at all until then. I sent or attached the little op-ed I wrote to the Indianola Advocate about it and thought, okay, that's that, move on. And then a couple months or weeks later, this little guy in the Indianola Living magazine came out, coincidentally mentioning all about NAGA, quite conveniently. And through these hundreds of words, all about us and how great it is, I had to double check it because I actually thought I had to have been wrong. Not a single actual indigenous individual or tribe is ever actually named in this entire thing. Not a single actual historical fact is ever mentioned, nor legacy, because at the end of the day, what we've ended up with is just kind of a placeholder name. It's kind of a name that we have left where we're kind of just putting on it whatever's in our heads, whatever's in our imagination. And then a couple more weeks goes by, my son graduates. Like many of you, I got a stack of these bad dads at home to give to relatives and whatnot from graduation. But down here in the corner of the picture, and it's a great picture, it's Forever We Are Indians. And my daughter, who's 9, and does not care about telling me exactly what she's thinking, says, "Dad, what does that mean? Gunner's not an Indian. We're not Indians." And I have a brother-in-law who's Asian, and we sent him one of these, of course, and he gives me a call, and he says, "What would happen in Indianola if you had a team jersey, and it just said African Americans, and it said, 'Forever we are African Americans,' given our demographics and our community?" It would take nanoseconds for Art's phone to start blowing up about that. But somehow, when we're talking about Indians, it's okay. Which isn't the hugest deal, except everyone in here has a cell phone and a laptop, and it takes 30 seconds, couple minutes, to actually find the Mesquakies' position and letter to the Marion School Board. They don't hair split, they're very straightforward. So at this point, I feel like we're at a point where we can listen to their wishes, respect them or disrespect them, but we're going to have to own that disrespect at this point. There's no real getting around it or third option. That's all it is. If we don't find a long-term 6 to 12 months, it doesn't, obviously this stuff isn't overnight, way to deal with it and transition to a new naming scheme, that's going to be the legacy. They've been very clear about it, and they're not going to go away. They're not invisible. These are our neighbors. We have to own that now. and I think that's a horrible idea. But mainly, when I look at other school boards who have dealt with this topic, the main obstacle is that once they are on the other side of picking a new name, getting people involved in the authorship of that new name, having the theater department make a mascot costume, getting people to try out for a new mascot, something that they can actually go ham about. Then they start seeing it's not about losing a name, it's about the opportunity we have to gain an entirely new rollout that the kids can actually have participatory authorship of. And that's exciting to me. That's something to actually look forward to. And so I would request that the board look into that. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. The only question I had was in regards to the Shive Hattery Roof Assessment Management Agreement, and Art said that that's been in place.
We still have a lot of people who are welcome to stay through the whole meeting. Are people here for anything else that we're aware of?
I don't know.
You're welcome to stay, and you're all welcome to go after this part. Because we have some really boring things to talk about. And everybody's welcome. But
Thank you very
we'll
much.
feel you have to stay.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You got one of these?
He does love coffee.
You got one?
I know, well,
Thanks, Ken. So the Shive Hattery Roof Assessment, that's just a program that they look at where they're in charge of all of our roofs. And those are those board members that know about it and stuff, so that's just
Yeah,
to keep
I
that.
was wondering about that too.
Yeah, they do constant examinations of it, catch any problems, help us sequence when roofs have to be replaced.
But didn't we just do the high school roof and?
Sometimes they do pieces.
Yeah, they will.
Like
I don't
this
know,
roof.
John, do you want to speak
We
to
just
that?
met, we just met with the representative who works with Michael, Andrew, and he goes through the roofs to see, we watch all the roofs, and then when we have a leak, they go out to that, whoever repaired that piece, look for the warranty, and that, whoever did that work would come back out and repair it. That happens.
The rubber roofs, right?
Depends, you look at Emerson is a metal roof, so it's different roofs throughout. I don't know if Michael can address anything.
Yeah, I'll just add on, basically it allows a one call for Mr. Bruck to say, hey, Irving, roof is leaking. And Andrew comes down, identifies the problem, identifies what roof it is, and then he contacts the roofer that installed it under warranty and issues all that warranty work, gets it started, gets it replaced, so that the facility staff isn't trying to figure out, what roof was it, who, trying to find all the information. We just kind of keep it nicely organized, and so when there is a leak or there's a problem, it's a quick service and keep you guys dry.
And as we did our review, we are really in good shape in our roofs. What Bernie and I have worked on is we're looking at roofs 1 year and then doing classroom furniture and furniture refreshes. And now it looks like we'll be able to do a couple years of furniture and lay off a roof for a year. So that is good. As we've gone through the years, it's every other year we've had big pieces. And throughout the years, we've had maybe $1,000 here or $500 there, but it is a one-stop shop, and it has served us well through the years.
Does it try to anticipate, or is it just like, there's a leak, go look, or do you look every year and say,
Walk
this
somebody.
probably within 2 years needs?
Right, that is part of it.
Okay.
So they look at what the warranty is, because many of our roofs, he informed us, are 25 to 30 year roofs.
Yeah.
So we've got long periods of time now that we should be good, but we always want to know if one is failing quicker than we thought, we need to deal with that before we have damage inside.
That warranty still falls into that
Warranty still
25,
falls.
30 years, right? Okay.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
And and this might be for Mr. Ron. This consulting partner professional development contract for the music, is that a required professional development for kind of like our specialty ensembles and stuff like that?
It's not required. It was a request that came from several of the music teachers when we surveyed them as to what is some of the types of training that you want. And they specifically requested Wendy Barden. Some had been to trainings with her before. Music is kind of that specialty area when you're trying to look at how do we assess and move those kids. So we're just trying to meet the needs of all the teachers, whereas I think, in the past, sometimes it hasn't been as specialized as it needs to be for them, so.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, motion made by Ken to approve,
Second motion.
seconded by Ben. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have, let's see, G3A, Board HR Committee Meeting Report.
You or I, Mr. President?
There's just two of them. Okay, let me get to it real quick here, Ken. Or you can start if you would, like, it might
I
take
know,
me a little
I know who's
bit.
gonna get it, but I just thought I'd ask.
I was about to say, why?
Okay, I got it.
have a question for you guys.
Yeah, we started off as a good meeting. Mimi, as she's gonna take a little vacation, has done pre-work on the calendar, so that will be ready on different things. Came to us with kind of a draft and everything, working on it. One of the things that was suggested is printing it in a couple of different forms. One which Rob suggested was a parent-friendly form. The one you look at now is 27 colors and 13
Right.
and all of that.
Just like,
So we're doing that. There's more information on that to come, as we get it. As we have said all along, in the meeting we pointed out that we're intending on proceeding with a normal school year without any COVID protocols. So it'd be like it was 2 years ago, school. Reviewed a list that we have, and the acronyms, I never know what they are, and I don't really care. It's ESSR3. It's the third round of COVID money that we've got to spend. And if you turn the page, you'll see the staff's been working on potential petitions, or positions, that we might be able to add that help in student learning in that regard. That one is still being worked over by the administration over what's needed. As they come up with some concrete suggestions, they'll come back to us. But we do have money there for other positions.
Sue has a question on that,
So
Ken.
this family liaison position that you have, student parent mental health needs in connection to school. So is that going to be the person that is helping address that gap between a child gets referred to the school therapist and then, remember I talked about that drop in numbers because there's not a contact from the school to the parent. So like we had all these referrals, but who was actually getting into therapy wasn't as high a number because there was kind of a lapse between the communication between
There's
school
no
and
job
the parent.
description written, but as conversations have gone, I could see that falling within the parameters of this issue. The point is, parent communication.
Right, so
Yeah.
who's creating that? Like, if I want to ask or have some,
Input through it to Mimi,
okay.
because that's not decided on or anything, it's just suggestion. One thing, we didn't get attached to minutes, and she can send to everybody, I don't think we did, is you give us a job description for instructional coach, because people have had questions about that all the time. And I don't think we got that attached here for all the board members, so we'll make sure to get that to you. She just wanted us to have it. And then the next thing is mentioned is I recommended that when we get to the district day, we meet with teachers first time, that with the change in the laws we have, I suggest it'd be wise to have our attorney make the presentation to the teachers so they realize this is the law. Art doesn't have to take the heat for this or anything else. There's been changes in the law which we will comply with, So that's a suggestion. And we talked a little bit about screenagers, suggestions on you know, keeping the concepts in mind, talked about with no decisions or anything. Can it be part of the 5th or 6th grade orientation with everybody invited? You know, that was our meeting. Did I miss anything?
It was a lot, and we got it done in 55 minutes, it says. No, any questions on that from other board members? Okay. Next is the technology committee meeting. This is from a while ago.
Yeah, this is.
Is that the one I said?
Oh, we've got a little heading problem there.
What do you see?
February, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, no, not that one. No.
Our cameras coming.
I was even just looking at the June
We're all done.
22nd.
Yeah.
Elementary digital learning.
I mean, I'll take a stab at it and people
Go
jump
for it,
in. Schools are required to adopt and enforce an internet safety policy. The details are kind of listed there. If I remember right, it's like we do all of it, but there is a point where we needed to, what was it, like formally?
An actual.
Yeah, there's a requirement for a public
Yeah,
hearing.
Public hearing. Are we doing that tonight? I can't remember.
We'll be doing that tonight.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But we were doing everything, but we just kind of thought, okay, we gotta do that last little bit. I don't need to go into any more details, but it's all listed there. I think some of the tools we have are very good at doing exactly what we're trying to get to. There's the public hearing. We spent quite a bit of time talking about just the elementary devices, and I think Ray's been looking at different quotes, and I think that's in the agenda too. But we also just kind of, I remember we kind of questioned exactly what was going on with the committee, Annette, just, you know, like where we were with what our program was, or that we knew how we were gonna use them, and just kind of taking, I think we were kind of asking some of those questions, because we knew that was kind of going on simultaneously. We had put a bid in at one point with COVID. It was delayed a lot, so then we kind of took a step back and said, until we know what we're doing with them, we're not going out and buying it. I don't even know if we would have gotten them, because they probably still would have been back ordered. But now, just before we move forward, just kind of getting a confirmation that we know how we're going to use them, and I think there's been a lot of work on that, so. I don't know what that part is that in the, I feel like I've read all this stuff, I just remember where I've read it.
Yeah, and Ray had sent an email out to
Yeah,
the
that
board
was it.
today, updating. I don't know.
I thought it was interesting.
Everybody
I don't,
Oh, go ahead.
I just thought, right, it was interesting when you put these graphs in here about the amount of people that have reached out and created tickets, and how your small staff are able to resolve the issues. So I don't know if everyone has looked at that, but our technology crew did a pretty darn good job through all of this.
Oh, that's the, the institute.
Ticket
Thank
system,
you.
yep.
Yeah, the crew's even smaller than usual, because Ray has spent full time helping us with our computer.
Yeah.
So we come to the meetings.
Our computer learning.
And then the last thing kind of listed on there was some comments we've received just about the cell phone coverage at different buildings, and especially the Lord Ingalls Wilder building. And you said you received one quote to boost the coverage, and it was around
How much was it?
I'm getting
Is that a
I'm
year?
getting the second one. No, that's a one-time.
Okay.
Oh, it's just a one-time.
It's a one-time, but it's around 30,000. I've got another vendor who said if it was their enterprise level solution, it would be closer to 70, but they're gonna engineer something a little different, so we'll see. Somewhere probably between that 30 and 70 to.
So is there
Which is a
any
big
other,
range.
70 would be every building, is that what you're saying?
No, that was just a separate vendor.
Oh.
It said, yeah, we would be probably closer to 70, but we'll come out and re-engineer a design, and see where we're at. So, I at least want to get two quotes. One company did come back as 30. I'm waiting on the second one, but I would anticipate it's going to be higher than that.
is that 30 all the schools, or just Lower Single Wilder?
Just one.
Just
Just
Wilder with a lot of trouble.
Yep, just Lower Ingalls Wilder.
So do they have trouble in the classrooms, like getting on like their devices too?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
this is just, what we're talking about here is just cell phone coverage. So every classroom has a phone, a physical wired phone so they can, make calls, dial 911. This would be more of a, just cell phone convenience type.
So, like, a couple of them talked to me, because when I was out there doing some stuff for concession, and they're like, I can't, if there's an emergency, or I'm out on the playground, or I'm here or there, and my cell phone doesn't work, and there's an intruder, I can't even use my cell phone to get any kind of help, like, hey, there's somebody down in the cafeteria room, whatever, because their cell phone doesn't work in there. I tried, and I have Verizon, and mine did not work. I could not get out.
They have it outside, just not in the building?
You gotta go out by the flagpole to get reception, because I said, oh, surely not, we gotta have reception in here. We didn't. I walked 4 different hallways with her, and then I had to go out clear by the flagpole. And then I had to shut my phone off and reboot it to make it work so I could call.
We do have landlines in each of those rooms.
Yeah.
We have landlines in
But if
each
you're,
room.
but her biggest thing, or their biggest thing was, if there's somewhere where there's not a landline, and the only way to call for help is their cell phone. I mean, they just brought that up to me, so that's why I thought I'd bring it up to technology and find out what we can do to boost that to.
I think they do use radios a lot in that building too. That's maybe part of the reason. And so that might be programmatic too, but that's another communication method.
Because people always have radios or walkie-talkies outside with them, so it's not like there's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say it doesn't matter what the carrier is. In that building, it is.
That building.
It is hard, because I've tried to use mine, yeah.
It's just the walls are all concrete
Is it
block
just
walls.
that building?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's by far the worst. It's just,
High
it's
school
built
would
like a
definitely
fortress. Really.
Yeah, so the kids can't get on it.
Can we get on the Wi-Fi there to call? It's,
They can put their phones on the Wi-Fi, yes, on the guest Wi-Fi. Yeah, they can. Yep. But that probably depends on the carrier and the phone rather than they can actually make a call.
Well, to me, that's a little bit tougher decision when it's $30,000, probably. Where it goes next.
When you get a second quote, you'll bring back specific numbers for them.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have one other question on technology. What different chat rooms are allowed, like, on the kids' devices?
So it depends on the time of day. So we block by category. We typically don't block by individual sites because there's far too many to try and put everyone in. But after school hours, we do unblock social media, so it would be the standard, Facebook, Twitter, that sort of stuff.
Are there teachers that are using chat rooms as a part of student engagement
Not that I'm aware of, other than the chat rooms that we provide.
that we provide within our system? And those are all monitored?
Yeah, exactly. That would be the stuff within like Power School Learning.
Thank you.
And the chat rooms that come alive after school hours, those would still be monitored to some extent by
All
the
that's, all
software.
the sites that they access at least would be logged. Sure.
So that is it on the technology committee meeting report. Next, we have the technology protection measure and internet safety policy for the public hearing. So we'll open that and see if there's anybody here to speak for or against this measure.
And do you want to just briefly, Ray, give an overview of the Child Internet Protection Act?
Exactly, I can do that. As it mentions there's a couple things we need to certify to show SEPA compliance, mainly that we have regulations in place that we are enforcing for internet safety for our kids, and that we have the devices in place to filter that and manage that. Part of the reason we have to certify that we are in compliance is because we receive E-rate funds. And so I don't know if everybody here is familiar with E-rate, but basically the federal government gives us a discount on purchasing certain equipment and internet access. And so we have to have this public hearing one time. We probably have had it sometime in the past, but neither John or I know when that would have occurred. And so that's why we're bringing that tonight, is because if we were to be audited at some point, we need to show that we've had a public hearing saying, yes, we're meeting these requirements. as I outlined in the board IT committee notes, and I indicated there, the policies that we're using to meet those compliance and the 2 filter types that we're using as well to meet that. So really, at this point, we just need to certify it, and then hopefully 10 or 15 years down the road, when somebody questions it, somebody will be around to say, yeah, we did that once.
When we certify it, Ray, you say, and I understand there are a lot of assurances we do all the time, things we have to say, yes, we're doing this. When you say following public hearing certification of CIPA compliance is recommended, is that a board action?
It is, according to, and that was in those a little higher up in the board tech committee, it has to be an action by the board.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public that wants to speak to the Child Internet Protection Act requirements or ask anything about what we're doing?
What do you want us to ask? I mean, I think everything's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I get a lot of information when you have to agree, to protect it, and if anything happens, it's like, you sign your rights away, sign your life away. Yes, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this.
We are covered in both policy and practice, but you're here, you're a captive audience for public hearings, so I thought I'd ask.
I know that, Sue, I know that they communicate. I mean, they can communicate through email, but I do also know that Mr. O'Mara pulled something up when I went in to have a meeting about one of the kids. And he could see everything, like what they've searched, who they're talking to, what they're talking about. So I can vouch for that. I'm not really sure what you need me to say anything about this, but I think we do a pretty good job of locking things down and not letting them have access to certain things.
All right. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The federal money you discussed, what does that pay for actually?
Yeah, so there are very specific things it pays for. It used to pay for telephone access, actually. That got cut off a few years ago, and they kind of figured, well, everybody has telephones, so they cut off that funding. But for us, it does help with internet bandwidth right now. So we pay 40%, and the government pays 60% as long as we are in compliance with E-rate. We have to certify a whole bunch of stuff saying, yeah, this is just for school use, and we are CIPA compliant. So it takes a pretty good discount off of that. Recently, in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years, somewhere in there, we actually started getting funding for equipment that provides internet access. So wireless access points like the one up there on the ceiling, and our network switches in the closets, that sort of stuff is now funded for us as well. So it takes 60% off of that.
We're going to take a little time to make us aware of the funding stream.
Yeah, this is kind of again, we have the funding stream, we've been using it, but we just need to certify that, yeah, we've been meeting all the requirements that we should have been meeting. And we were, we just don't have record of it, so that's really what this is for, is just to say, yes, we're certifying we meet these requirements.
That's the only requirement.
We don't need to go into
Yes, exactly.
That, they're not picking the equipment for you or the...
No, we pick the equipment, we seek bids on all of that, and then we just have to keep records. I believe it's 7 years, we have to keep all of our records for E-rate audit. And so one of the things that's stated in there is if you don't have proof of a public hearing, you just need to have a public hearing, which we're doing, and slide that into your documentation.
So
we'll go ahead. Any other questions, any comments or anything? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing now then. Thank you guys.
make a motion. I make a motion that we certify the CIPA compliance.
Motion made by Sue, seconded by Lori. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. It's the pre-kindergarten through 5th digital learning environment equipment purchase.
So I can just talk a little bit about that. As Carolyn mentioned earlier, we had approved this at one point, and then we didn't get the devices, so we kind of hit the pause button. Now we're kind of circling back around where we can get devices. At least part of this can be paid for out of ESSER 3, and possibly another fund we're looking at as well, which is, I just blanked on it. It's the ECF. It's the ECF. It's a connectivity fund that's available. We may be able to use part of that to fund this as well. And we do have quotes from vendors in that price range that's there. And the delivery time is much better than what we were seeing last year, so.
What did they say, delivery time?
One of the vendors is saying if we were to order, say this was approved tonight, and we were to order it this week, they could even be here in August. And that would be our leading vendor, and they do have stock available, so it's.
Are we getting are you talking about iPads for the preschoolers?
So the preschoolers, actually, we have those iPads already because those were ordered and
So
there
those
was
get
no
to-
backlog on those, so we have
Oh,
those
we
in
got those.
district.
So it's the kindergarten.
This is the
Chromebooks
Chromebook.
for kindergarten or iPads?
This is Chromebook for K through 5, which is what everybody had wanted. The only difference between the devices that we would be looking at ordering now versus then is that these are all touchscreen devices, so they're convertible devices, so they can be used as a regular Chromebook, just like they were intending, or you can fold the screen around and it can become a tablet. And that's kind of like an iPad and a Chromebook all in one. That was something we had looked at for kindergarten, but not the other grade levels. With the addition of us using tools like Seesaw that we brought on board last year, it's much more handy to have that convertible device, so a student can take pictures of their projects and put into Seesaw. So that's what we'd be looking at there.
Where did we land, like, or we, depending on what we choose maybe, or where we go with the protective case? I know you were kind of.
Yeah, so this doesn't include a case. This does not. This price does not. The cases would be less than $30 per device. But I'm still testing those out, to be honest with you. I've got one I wasn't particularly happy with. I've got 3 more being sent out, but I would anticipate those would be, I know they would be under $30 because that's what they've told me so far. So.
What we need approval for is 1,640 Chromebooks at a price not to exceed $621,707.60. But at this point, you haven't picked a vendor.
That 617 or 621 is a quote from one of the vendors. Hoping to squeeze a little more out of them, but we'll see. But that would be the max.
Yeah, to max it out.
And to the audience, we've been dealing with this in at least 20 different meetings and everything else. So we are familiar with the prices. And it's kind of embarrassing, but 600,000 doesn't scare us. We just know that that's what it's going to cost. So I'll happily make the motion that we approve that.
A motion made by Ken to approve the device purchases.
I'll second it.
I have a comment.
Sorry, I couldn't tell who seconded it.
She did.
Donna. Seconded by Donna. Anything discussion by the board? Carolyn, yes.
We have name tags.
Go ahead. I know, I just couldn't hear. I couldn't.
Can you post it towards them, please?
I couldn't.
Thank you.
I just wondered if we could if we needed to structure it, maybe they're not reading our minutes, but does it hurt to say that we formally approved up to that amount? Or should it be like, once you kind of put pressure on them and you get an amount, that we get together and approve it? I'm sorry, if someone knew that we had up to 600,000 and they could look at minutes.
I'll just tell you, that's the cheapest quote I've had. So I kind of put that range in there.
What was the 500,000? Was that the original one that we never had?
Wait, sorry, the 500 was the cheapest, the other was the most expensive. Sorry, I said that backwards the first time, so.
I'm just thinking of what gives you the best negotiation position.
That's part of why I put a range in there, is so that if someone's watching tonight, I can kind of.
We do have an active bid out there for 500,000.
Oh, okay, okay.
I said that one.
I mean,
So we're just giving you permission to negotiate this.
Yep, and get the order placed.
But just say
I've got
that.
a couple different vendors I'm working with, and I didn't want to put all the cards on the table here. But hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But my intention is to order this week if you guys say yes. I've heard back from both vendors. I'm not sure how much I can squeeze out of them, but, and I say that in a nice way. I like working with my vendors if they're listening.
So will the total then include all those protective cases as well?
I said this does not. That's
But
what
will we see a number before they're ordered, or does that not?
I can let you know
Matter
what
to
that
us.
is, but it would definitely fall in this range.
Take 30 times.
It'd be less than 5,000 more, right? You said 30 or less,
Yep,
and
it'd be 30 less than $30 per case.
Okay.
And then I was talking to Art, just saying like, I want to make sure that the position to support this is there. So I don't know, as soon as possible that we can get the
Yeah,
person.
we've talked a little,
Posted for two with the IT specialist, so
Awesome.
either of them are new positions. We
Okay.
posted them as, so those didn't need special approval.
Okay.
But they're posted and I have 4 applicants for one and 2 for the other, so.
Just so it's a good rollout for.
We haven't hired that though?
no.
You guys approved those several months back.
Yeah.
And we kind of hit the pause button on them.
Oh.
We just,
We've kind of been in a little bit of a loop with, we know we need the additional help if we're going to have the purchase, kind of a which comes first, the devices or the staff, and so.
A long time ago.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Let's talk about that.
Next is the, under finance facility support services, we have the 2022 milk bill bid.
They're very pleased with,
Remember once when we couldn't get AE and it was a disaster? Kids will be happy.
and if you
Yeah,
noted
they don't like
on
it.
the bottom of the bid sheet, they're available to, if we can agree between the two, AE and the district, they can continue on for 2 more years beyond this year. So, that was written into the bid and both agreed to that. But, I don't know, Highland won the Des Moines bid, which was a big AE bid before, so. I think that they sharpened their pencil for us. So.
I'm going to move acceptance of the milk bid from Anderson.
A second.
Motion made by Carolyn to approve, seconded by Lori. Any further discussion by the board? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the designate AHERA contract.
Here, this is the Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act. We have to have a contact in the district. Our contact is Tom Tremblay. We must do that every year, so.
Okay.
I'm going to move approval of Tom Trump as AHERA designated person.
Motion made by Carolyn, seconded by Sue.
Just a quick question, Jonna. I think Bernie went and got some training too, right? So,
He's our secondary person, so he can step in if Tom is.
and we also think we're very nearly asbestos-free in the district.
I said that once and then they found some more.
That's why I said very nearly, because I think that was kind of like you had proclaimed with the big banner, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
And
and then they said, oh, we found this small piece, so there are hidden pieces, it sounds. So when we have construction that's done, they do go in, Tom walks it, and then if he sees anything that's questionable, he does contact our asbestos abatement contractor to come and look.
Any further discussion by the board? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the facilities meeting report. Want me to do it?
Policy.
Don't fight over it.
So, we met, the architects last meeting, they're nearing completion of the design for the auxiliary board, our auxiliary building, you can see it up there. They've met with several of the directors as far as the layout of the building goes. We also talked about the locations for the building, which is an ongoing discussion. I know representatives from Little League were at the last board meeting, and that discussion is ongoing, but you can see the proposed sites. The first is the one that we've spoken the most about, which would be on that existing baseball field directly to the west of the parking lot. They also laid out some additional sites just for comparison. That one you can see is basically putting it on the existing parking lot for Little League. And then further down, they tested the existing facilities transportation site. Explored another site just west of the main parking lot, and then another one which would be on the ball field that would be south of the Little League parking spot. So
Would it save any money to go to different sites?
no,
Like
I
the
mean,
concrete one, like the
concrete's
parking
the
lot?
big thing. Obviously, with the sites at the Ball Diamonds, you have the concrete in place. Of course, that's extremely expensive. And then if you're looking at other sites, obviously, then you're talking land acquisition, acquiring the land for that. So, I don't know. Have we met further with?
No, we were supposed to have attend a board meeting of theirs on July 11th. They got canceled. They had some rainouts and had a tournament and got pushed back. And then I had requested maybe to see if we could do that yesterday, the 18th. Didn't get a reply on that. I know Bernie reached out today and did reach a board member, and they will have a meeting coming up, possibly next Sunday. And we definitely want to try to have the conversation, so.
So that's kind of that for the land, and then,
So how do we decide? We're just gonna have them get their input and then.
Well, I think the key.
We have a 40-year contract.
Yeah, with the lease.
No, I mean, but there's these options that
between
don't
sites.
impact baseball.
I mean, yeah, we'll definitely have, more conversation with the architect too in terms of their recommendation, but I think it's difficult because a lot of the other potential options really tie the district's hands for future expansion. For example, the high school site, for example, if you look at C or D, those are right, taking away flexibility that you have there for future work there.
What about, do we own the parking lot? We do, don't we?
Well, we constructed it. The lease talks about that potentially being a shared thing, but the district constructed that.
Well, that's all part of that 40-year contract?
Well,
it says that that parking will be.
the 40-year contract references parking, not that parking lot specifically, so I think I'd probably want to get a legal opinion on that, for sure.
But shared means you share. Doesn't mean somebody has half and the other has half.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
And when Little League's
understand.
in session, school buses, for the most part, school's not in session.
Right.
Nor is there a football game.
Right.
Okay. And what we heard in the meeting was, even with a football game, that's at least, did I hear half empty?
It is. It's
Because they really
usually
used
this
this
one.
one first, yeah.
This is usually the one that's full of
So
passes.
that's it. And the committee was not thrilled with anything on the high school grounds, for the reason that Art mentioned.
That's why I was kind of leaning towards the parking lot.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I think it's an option. We'd have to really dig into some of these other things that the facilities committee talked about if there's not, any agreement that can be reached with Little League, so.
But that would effectively take away the parking lot, the time you have buses parked there.
That would affect your,
There's no parking there by the time you get buses parked, unless the buses
The
are parked
parking
somewhere
that
else.
she's showing is to the, if you look at the building, it's to the left of the building.
this right here, right?
It'd be
Hash
yeah.
marks.
All those hash tags, so then this is still open parking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was
That
trying to
much
figure out how
when
to
you
blow
drive by,
up my
like-
phone, and I'm like, this is not blowing
I mean,
up.
during basketball events, that place is packed, that parking lot and all the
And wrestling.
boulevards, and they're parking on every grass area they can around.
Wrestling and basketball tournaments are, but, they could still walk, a lot of them walk from the high school parking lot over. I don't know what IMD basketball tournament
healthy
was,
to
but they
walk.
walk from across the street, which makes me nervous if it's a kid crossing, but,
They can drop their kids off and go park.
well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about them having to walk.
We talk about not having enough parking a lot for different things, but we've gotten relatively spoiled, with close parking. Think about some big events you go to, how far you have to walk, so.
So the last portion of, if you want to scroll down, Ray, we talked about with Laura, the task force process. And we're kind of in the area where we're identifying a task force made up of 10 to 12 community members. And you can see kind of the timeline, but right now I would say we're pretty close to getting that task force developed, and then you can see the timeline as far as the work that they would then put in for the remainder of the year, moving this forward.
This has to do with high school.
Yes, this is for the high school, the potential high school renovations. And so how the list was, we all submitted names, and we just kind of pared it down and reaching out to people, and hopefully they'll want to be a part of this. We'll hear the time. That's about all I have. Candy, did I miss anything?
Hell of a job. Good job. Good job.
All right.
Fair.
All right, next is the monthly financials.
So you'll see 2 months in there, you'll have April and May. I'll move down to May since it's more recent. You can kind of compare, we're, from general fund to general fund, year peak part at about $300,000. We're starting to see some of the COVID funds coming in, but the thing with that is we've got COVID expenditures that tie right to the COVID expenditure, to the revenue. So we have used all of the ESSER 1, which is the emergency funds for the schools, ESSER 2, and now we're working on ESSER 3. And that's what Ray is talking about, partial funding for his technology and his staff, as well, as we work towards that plan. Activity fund, for being a COVID year, the activity fund did relatively well. Again, you don't have as many expenditures as you have, so you're kind of honing down on the expenditures, but the revenue has held up for them. As you go across, you see our Pearl Fund, which is the playground fund. We have not spent a dime, so it will continue to grow until we find use for that, for replacing playgrounds, or we get to a community. That's one of the things that we can do, is get a community
Education.
Yeah. Ours could be adult ed, could be community ed of sorts, so.
We've replaced all the playgrounds now, right? They're all updated.
They're all
We
updated.
finished Wilder.
Was the last one.
Right.
And that's really how that started, was we realized that the cost of a playground is about $500,000 when you replace the whole thing. So this gives us a savings account for that.
How old's our oldest one? Would be back on the
6
rotation.
years. The three, Irving
and Emerson?
And Emerson and Whittier. Well, Whittier's
Whittier's-
playground.
I say, that's pretty new, isn't it?
The preschool playground.
There was playground work done with that construction that was happening in the fall of 2015.
Right.
So you're about 6 years in.
So and they last about,
Well, and they say, sometimes they say 10 years. Lauren Goes Wilder was 11 years when we replaced it, I think. Although, because of when it was built, they had some disadvantages that the other playgrounds didn't have. For example, they still had wood chips instead of the safe surface. They had some drainage issues. They had some needed fencing that wasn't put in. So they kind of started at a disadvantage that buildings really don't have right now.
well, and I know safety changes, they come out with new protocol all the time, so. But we're sitting pretty good though.
I think so right now. Again, it could be 5 years out from another one, but as you start, and if you get to a rotation, that's what we've, in the facilities department, for different things, we're looking at trying to get rotation schedules set up. And rather than having to hit everything at once, that just blows a budget quickly. So this, if we can get on a rotation, it works much better, so.
So this is gonna maybe sound strange, but I know we've talked about it. Will some kids run into the cornfields through Wilder? Is this to a fence?
The fence is up.
Yeah, we added fencing with the playground project.
That was part of that project.
Oh, good, okay.
Yep.
Sounds terrible.
They can't run into the cornfield now.
Well, it's less enticing because it's not just wide open to the
Yeah.
field.
Right.
No, but we did, we fenced far enough out that we didn't lose a lot of usable play space. So, yeah, I think we had a pretty good solution with that.
So every elementary does have fencing now, because the other one that didn't was Emerson. And so, because Emerson had that big grassy field to the south, so now that does have a cutoff so that they can't.
And it's just it's a good security thing too.
Spring property taxes came in pretty well then.
Yeah, you know, we always like April, you know, I passed by April. We always like April because that's the second half property tax.
There wasn't a.
We didn't see a real blip on that. We do, I do know that we received funds in June and in July for that last one. So I don't look at it specifically until the end of the fiscal year to make sure that somebody they caught up.
Okay.
And if you look at, it shows a negative in the debt service. That's due to a transfer that happens in June from local option sales tax to the debt service. So we do have 3 outstanding sales tax bonds that we are paying off, that we've refunded some of them. That just has to have a transfer. At the end of the year, we transfer that. So it looks funny, but that'll be cleared up next month in that. So. Nutrition fund, oh my gosh. I think that it's doing quite well. The funds we are, and Art mentioned it, the school summer lunches have done well. We are, I believe, I've talked to Sue about this, the only school that's doing the student lunches in the summer.
Yeah, the county school.
The only county school. So this is before any of that happened, but this is probably the highest I've seen this fund since I've been here, and I think that he grew that. It took a lot of finagling to get to where he was at $250,000, so $400,000 is awesome. Also, you'll look at the child care fund is doing well. They are being heavily supported by COVID money. Right now, we talked at Cabinet this morning, we have 4 sites, and those 4 sites, typically, you know, we say that a site supervisor can handle 75 kids, just as an estimate, so total is 300 for 4. We're not even at 200 for the summer, so we're backfilling COVID funds for an assistant director and 2 site supervisors to help fill this gap, you know, so just for clarity, so you see that, yeah, it looks good, but it's, we
I think a lot of
need to all get back to normal, and we're not there yet.
I think a lot of businesses are consciously saying, like, not even considering going back into the office for the average employee till after Labor Day.
Till after Labor Day.
Yeah, that's what we've been watching.
So that will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
If that does happen.
But if they go hybrid, it might be like, there might be an impact to
childcare, right?
Childcare.
I know principals back 3 days a week, or 3 days in, 2 days out.
Right.
I guess I'm trying to understand, like, if we have less of a childcare population, why do we have as many expenses then? Like, shouldn't we have cut?
Well, right now, we've been told that we are not supposed to fire anybody due to COVID. So we haven't gotten rid of those staff members, because if they come back, we would need them. You know, one of the discussion was, you know, do we less than places, but that, we haven't talked about that much right now. But
I think people have let their kids stay at home and are making it. They find out they don't need that child care. I mean, I know a couple of families in that situation, instead of sending them to daycare, they're just staying at home.
That was just for this year, where we do
it's through the
that.
COVID, yeah.
And then when's that end?
They're trying to, what's that?
When does that policy end, where we can?
Well, we're not paying people not to work anymore.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenon that first spring, with really all of our support staff, not just childcare. And what we heard from the legislature at that time was, hey, we've funded you for the year, so continue paying people throughout your school closure. I think what you're talking about, Rob, is probably a little more long-term analysis. We're not paying people not to work, but do we have more capacity at each site than we need?
Right.
You know, according to the number limits right now, yes. So, you know, if we want to get back to that point where we have, you know, the kids we're serving totally in focus with the amount of staff we have, well, we'll either see that grow or we'll have to take a look at that, you know.
I think it
We're
makes
giving
sense
this
after
this
school
year to
starts.
come back.
After school starts, to look at it.
Like, that'd be my 2 cents, see what people do.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything we have to do right now, but John is right in saying that right now we're taking advantage of this COVID money we have to subsidize. That's not a long-term plan, so.
Because it would, right. So. And then the other good news is our self-insurance fund is, you know, we're sitting at about 1.5 million after 2 years, almost 2 years of implementation. So we're pleased with that so far. So. Any questions?
I'll move approval of the monthly financial report.
Motion made by Ken to approve, seconded by Lori. Any further discussion on this by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the 2021-2022 food service meal prices.
0, 0, 0, 0. Adult lunches, we have to identify them, so we're identifying them. We're leaving those the same as what they were last year. And we're hoping that we still get the people that sign up for free and reduced, because that does identify our Title I programming and other federal programming that we need. We've got a lot of direct certifications that happen automatically. So we'll see if we've sent out, or we're sending out the letter with the fee sheet. You should begin to get kids in the district. So hopefully we can continue to keep our numbers running.
Well, it impacts textbooks, right?
Yes. Okay, so the difference there, okay, so we have free and reduced, and then you have to sign a waiver if you want to have the
Fee waiver.
the fee waiver. So what that does is it allows, textbooks is a big cost, but also driver's ed. So if someone is eligible for free and reduced lunches but doesn't sign the waiver, they can't get the free and reduced, or they can't get the benefit of the textbook or.
And we can't just use the free and reduced number. I mean, that's a federal
Yes, it's a
program,
federal
and there is probably great overlap, but they still need to go through that slightly different process.
Motion to accept the 2021-2022 food services meal prices.
Motion made by Ben.
Second.
Seconded by Sue. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the resolution for paying bills when the board is not in session. This is just a continuing annual thing. Is it nothing we can just make a policy and not have to vote on it every year? Or?
I think because it's in code that it asks that you do this annually.
Okay.
And basically, Rob's, as a president, he sees the list every week of the bills. So it's probably, it's piecemeal because it's only by the week, because if you had to do through the whole month, it would be times 4 what you see. So what you see in the list that comes to the board at the end of the month. So it does help us keep up with all our bills for our vendors.
They appreciate it, I remember.
And we do too, because then it's easy, we track things as things are due, you know, like a credit card statement or a different bills that we have.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for payment of bills when the board is not in session.
Motion made by Ben.
Second.
Seconded by Donna. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the federal funds ESSER 3 transfer resolution.
We did this for 1, and we did this for 2. This is, because it's fiscal year end, I needed to get this piece done, starting now. So next year, we won't do this probably till towards the end of the year, but to close out a fiscal year, we needed to do it now. And this kind of breaks it down as to what the different funds had. Mainly, a lot of the general fund, the biggest piece were those standable desks that came in, the raisable, lowerable desks that went to all students, or all staff members. The food service fund was mainly the food service, childcare, and there was some general fund where people that had COVID or had subs for COVID, we tracked those, so those pieces were there. And the self-insurance fund, the Wellmark does tally how many people receive vaccines, or they're not, the dollar amount for vaccines, the dollar amount for treatment, and the dollar amount for testing. So those three pieces added up to the 87,000, which will help our self-insurance fund as well. So that's what we're asking.
I'll move approval of the transfer of funds from the listed accounts.
Motion made by Ken,
I'll second.
seconded by Carolyn. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the facilities project update.
Saw some of what Art had put in his update. The auditorium looks a lot different right now. Color scheme is, the painting is getting close to done. The seats are all removed, so it's wide open right now. But it's kind of exciting to see the change, the transformation of it. The gym
There end up being
renovations.
less seats in the auditorium then?
The exact number of seats, I know we talked about it, and I don't know what I don't recall what the exact number of seats were.
I can get back to you on that.
It's similar to
It's
what we
very
have.
similar.
Okay, yeah. So it looks great. So then the gym renovations, they've been working on, the painting, the floors, the lights were done before, so painting, floors, and bleachers were completed as also before. So those will look great starting the year as well.
Right.
It's ready
Right there.
Yeah.
Just a side note, if any board members are free to attend District Day today and plan to, this year, August 20th, we usually have that in the auditorium, but we don't think that that's going to be available. I just put in a letter this morning that we'll plan on doing that in Blake Fieldhouse, having breakfast in the middle school cafeteria first. So you can check your availability August 20th, and if you go to the auditorium, you'll be in a dark auditorium by yourself. Breakfast is 7:30 till about 8:15, and then I give a welcome, then we have a keynote from about 8:30 to 10.
Any questions?
Are they doing the back to school bash, is that on the 20th or 21st?
Good question.
I thought I read something from Bernie.
I think it is Saturday. I think it's the 21st.
It's the 21st
Pretty sure.
On the square?
at 7. No, it's out here at the football field. They're gonna watch a movie on the big screen, right? Is that
Yes.
Yes.
right? Okay. That is the 21st.
Next is the policies.
Yes. You have the list of policies that were reviewed and updated. I do want to point out a few things this time. Every board member is going to need to read employee conflict of interest, because I think we're going to have to deal with that. So 401.2, make sure you read the new edition. I also recommend, if you have time, as we did the one we spent some time on, but left the guts the same: employee complaints, employee political activity, public complaints about employees. And those are just general I have in the background. I think you all know what's in there, but it's good to do. It's a long one, but I get a lot of questions about employee social media and texting, so it's good that you review that one. And the new thing that we dealt with is finally being able to have a realistic credit card policy for the district, that it can have more than one credit card. Administrators can use them. John has worked out a system and all of that. This policy allows that system to go into effect. Did I miss anything?
I think that's a great summary of the high points there.
And this would be first reading.
So it was 401.2.
Yeah. So, since I don't hear any questions for me, I move approval of first reading of these policies.
First reading of the 400s, second series.
Yep, and then we'll go back and catch the second reading of the 300s too. Unless you want to put them together, but,
I sure do.
okay.
And in the same motion, the second reading of the 300s.
Who seconded that?
Nobody yet.
Second.
Seconded by Lori. Motion made by Ken.
That's where we were at.
We tried to put them together.
He's saying
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying need to have them together.
Yeah, first and second.
Yep.
You're doing.
Yeah, we just need 1 second. Seconded by Lori.
A second.
Oh, crap.
Oh, you
Carolyn
seconded.
got it.
All right, never mind, Karen.
I thought you were waiting
Lori,
for it. I
out.
don't care.
I'm out.
I was waiting.
So.
Ken moved.
Ken made a motion
For the
to
second.
approve the first reading and second reading.
No. First
No.
reading of the 400, second reading of the 300.
300.
Yep.
Right.
But we had two different seconds.
Well,
Who did
we
you
already have
recognize?
one. I'll recognize.
Carolyn.
Okay. This isn't really discussion of these policies, but I just really appreciate the time Ken and Ben have put in here. We got to a point, don't know how it happened, no excuses, but we had gotten behind. You need to review policies at least every 5 years. And they've really been spending time churning through policies, and we're back ahead of where we need to be. I know next meeting, we'll have a policy primer update from the ISB, so it probably won't be a nice sequential bunch like this. It'll be kind of a bouncing around between different things, updating to reflect the new legislation and things like that. But reading policy is not always fun, but it's really necessary. And as a district, we need to be current, and we need to have the right policies in place. So I appreciate the work on that.
It's pretty dynamite meetings. I usually can find a period that's missing, but Art beat me last. He got all of them, so kudos to Art.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next is the 2022 IASB legislative priorities.
I put the whole platform in there. This recommendation, actually, that was a note that didn't get updated from last year. I was out when the packet got put together, I might have caught that. So we can wait until August. The board, since it says for review, but we did have the whole platform in here. Last year, the board elected just to focus on mental health as your priority. There have been other years we've had more than one goal area. So it really is, this is just a matter of the board kind of looking at that ISB platform and identifying what your priorities are. So if you're ready to do that tonight, I think we could, even though the recommendation says wait till August. But if you want more time to absorb this, we can put it on the first August meeting. I just need to report to ISB what your priorities are by early August. So
If we did the first meeting in August, it would.
I think we'd be fine. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
wait.
okay, that's fine.
Rob,
Yeah.
can I say something before we move on to the next thing? Because I like to explain things to people.
Yeah.
We have some nice people that attended tonight. I hope I'm not repeating something that you all know. But all the information you see here is available online before our meeting. Indianola webpage, district, school board, agenda, and if you remember those 4 steps, you found it. So you can read this stuff ahead of time. I just want to make sure you.
I thought it, like, what I'm seeing, sorry, I'm looking at your computer maybe, but like, can you pull that up on yours, or is this like a different level of?
This is all, the packet was, how many pages, 173?
Yeah, the packet should be on this.
Because if we have a contract to approve, it could be a 20-page
The
contract.
easiest way to access it, Amy, would be go to the agenda, and then you have they're all clickable links, so it'll all be in there.
Previous months also.
Previous months, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, if the links are still live.
Agendas are there, but I don't know if the full body is there.
We not leave it on there very long?
A month, or, until the next meeting.
Oh, it's just a month on there?
Just the,
They're archived somewhere, aren't they?
I don't think that
They
it, like,
archived?
I could see one at a time is
Right.
what I
Yeah.
thought was available.
The minutes are, obviously, and the agendas, but all the supporting information.
So it'd still be there tomorrow?
It probably would be there until first part of August.
Okay.
We post the next one, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Till we post the next meetings. Week before.
Okay, next is the board calendar.
I won't be here at the next regular board meeting that week. I'm hosting up at the State Fairgrounds for 4-H.
August 9th. Call into that one.
And we have, let's see, finance tomorrow morning.
Those facilities and policy dates, Ken? What? You get those dates in early August. Facilities.
We're gonna change September.
You're right.
We ain't got to that.
August, you're good.
And you guys, yeah, that August 6th one, you guys agreed to move that one over to that Friday for me, so.
And then the next agenda.
I can't even, these are all week. I have the youth, I'm youth for the Tuesday fair, so I could do it before that. I could do it the 9th, I start up there the 9th, from the 9th till that Friday, or that Saturday. So I can do the week before.
That's
I'm
probably,
gonna be chasing kids around.
that's just reeled over. What's that?
That was just in case you
Oh,
can't fall.
no, that was for the emergency operations plan, not for,
Is there
We
a
did
different?
it the
to
week
see it
before.
for me,
I'm here
but-
that whole week.
The week before.
Round two.
Can't go Thursday.
Round
'cause we're
six.
with Facilities Thursday.
All right,
Oh, we can do any other.
anything else?
So not Thursday. Yeah, but she has facilities.
Just need to know what date would work for you guys.
Donna, are you guys free any day that week?
Which week? The first week in August?
That week, the week before State Fair starts. Except for Thursday, you have finance.
We have facilities on
Or
Thursday,
facilities.
but I could do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday.
Yeah, I do either one of those.
I'm open on all three.
I can do.
Pick one.
Tuesday?
Tuesday,
Tuesday the 3rd.
the 3rd, we'll have you do that.
that's great.
Sounds great, doesn't it both? I know, that's why it sounds even better.
August 3rd, 7 p.m.
Well,
Motion to go.
Oh, we have to go.
Closed session.
Sorry.
You know I gotta go.
Okay,
Take a break, see Doug Shaw.
yeah, we'll keep.
Yeah, recess. Teach you
It's
the.
like a weather thing, saying there's funnel
Yeah.
clouds, not tornadoes, but funnel clouds in the metro.